What's a little thing you do to make the world a better place? I leave spare quarters in gumball machines. I like to think it makes somebody happy every once in a while. When I was little I found a quarter already in the gumball machine. It was you. Edit. The most upvoted comment I'll probably ever to get is about how I found a quarter. D. Wait for people that get left behind. No bro left behind. I used to get left behind at family lunches and dinners. As I am a slow eater, an uncle of mine started staying with me till I finished my food. Probably cost him some time but meant a lot for me. When someone gets cut off repeatedly in conversation, I make an effort to make eye contact with them and say, "Go ahead, I'm listening," or something along those lines. I pick up a few pieces of trash each time I walk my dog. It's a very tiny thing, but I like to think it adds up. Compliment people. I saw on here that men don't get many compliments, so I try to do it in as unflirty a way as possible so it doesn't get awkward. Simple stuff like "cool shirt." I had a friend who did this and was talking one time about him. Like, "He's such a nice person. I wish I was like that," and then realized that it was 100% possible for me to be. I now try to do it as often as possible. I'm not great at it yet, but people's reactions, smiles make it worth it. Basically, people like you inspire people like me to become better people. It's a beautiful world, isn't it? Exactly. So many people just say, "The world needs more people like you," or Summit, instead of "I should be like that." Glad you took it to heart. Use manners. Sounds inconsequential, but after working hospitality, retail, the amount of people that don't use them is terrible. Related. Treat the person answering the phone as a person, recognizing that they're probably paid peanuts to be ranted at by customers who expect them to be magicians. Also, experience taught. Take care of my things. We didn't have much while growing up, and my mother always believed in quality. She would buy things she knew we would use a lot. I have the same pencil case from 6th grade. I'm in grad school now. I have linen bedsheets, water bottles, fountain pens, mugs, and even some clothes that I've used for over 10 years. This helps me consume less, in creating less waste. I feel like we should strive to reduce before reusing and recycling. It blows my mind how some people go through so much crap because they see it as disposable or it's out of fashion. I've had the same backpack since 2007, the same duffel bag since 2004, and the same laundry hamper since 2000. I also use the hamper to put my groceries in when I go to the store, so I'm not using bags either. I'm also in grad school and I've got 10-plus-year-old binders and the same ruler I've had since middle school. My dad hammered it into me that you take care of your stuff. It was annoying when I was younger, but once I started paying for all my own stuff I was so glad he was like that. When I remove an item from a grocery store shelf, I move the same item forward to replace it, especially top shelf items. Short people like me appreciate you. Recognize and thank a person for their help, efforts, no matter how small a task may seem. Move turtles out of the road, smiley face. I do my best to keep bread and toast crumbs out of the butter container. Truly the kindest of all of us. Take my shopping cart to the return corral when I'm done with it. Edited to Soapbox. The awards were unnecessary but appreciated. As other Redditors have pointed out, returning a shopping cart is trivial, not an accomplishment. I think overlooking good behavior as an expectation devalues the act of doing good, though, especially with regard to children. Praising good behavior is beneficial, even when you think it's the default. It promotes good people within society, and we need that. I don't know if it makes the world a better place, but I try to be as nice as possible to people, even strangers who come up and talk to me. I'm nice to them, monsieur. I don't know what they're going through, but sometimes we just need someone to talk to. I don't mess with my phone while driving. When you see someone that looks down or lonely, talk to them, monsieur. You might make a good friend. I always told my kids to look for the quiet ones sitting alone and befriend them, because they will be your most loyal friends. Edit. This works in for adults too. Check out the quieter people at parties, and you may find a good friend. Try to raise respectful and compassionate children. I always make sure to be overly polite to people serving me, whether in a restaurant or a shop, and I always tell them to have a good day when I leave. Having worked in retail, I know a simple "how are you?" "thank you" or a "have a nice day" can mean a lot, especially on a bad shift. I was raised to have good manners, and I'll be damned if I don't flex them at any opportunity I have. It always saddens me that other people can't be the same way. Whenever I see a fellow woman wearing something super great looking, I'll go as far as to yell, "I like your dress, hair, makeup," across the street. Yes, girl. There's nothing like getting a genuine compliment from another woman. I still will think about the vitamin store lady who enthusiastically complimented a crop top I was feeling exceptionally insecure about. It really made an impact that lasts. Every time I feel shitty about how I look, I think about Vitamin Lady and wear the thing anyway. Donate blood products. Your body's constantly making red blood cells and platelets, and it's harmless, and possibly healthy, to donate. I started with whole blood because, well, that's what donating blood means to people. 15 minutes of time. Eat a cookie. Get a sticker. After I did that for a few gallons, I was asked if I'd consider donating platelets. They have to be used within 5 days of collection, so there's always a constant need. But it takes about 2 hours to do it. A single pint of blood doesn't have enough for a platelet transfusion, so the donor ends up hooked to an apheresis machine that'll centrifuge the blood, remove the platelets, and return the rest of the blood back to the body. So I end up watching Netflix for 2 hours on Saturday while doing another triple donation every other week, up to 24 times a year. It's like Spider-Man's quote in Civil War, "When you can do the things I can, but you don't, and then the bad things happen. They happen because of you." Obviously, donating like this isn't saving the world, but it's making the world a better place. And I'd feel ashamed if I just spend that time watching Netflix at home instead of doing some good. At the same time, I also donated bone marrow in 2008, so that was a little more of a "if you can help and don't, and bad things happen, it's your fault" situation, as I was the best available match in the entire world for my recipient. That was a little thing to me, but a life-changing thing for that person's family. Don't denigrate what you did. For that one person, you meant the entire world to them. You're good on you, friend. Own up to my mistakes to those it directly affects. Edit effects. Write little love messages on the tag of my wife's tea bag when I get her a cuppa. That's cute. I do something similar with my girlfriend. If she's out and I go out, I make the bed and leave a love note for her to find instead of me. She uses her favorites as bookmarks. Clean up. I stay up till 4 a.m. each day because I have several friends who are struggling during the lockdown and are getting depressed, so I stay up till then either waiting to see if they'll talk or talk to them to calm them before they fall asleep mid-convo. Some days I don't get a message from any of them and I've stayed up till 4 a.m. for no reason, but I don't mind because I care for them, and one of them is so I love and care for her so much. That sounds exhausting, but you have no idea how much it might help someone. That being said, make sure you get some sleep. I say thank you sincerely. Simple but effective. My husband always says, "You're welcome," whenever anyone thanks him for anything. You wouldn't believe how often we skip it until you hear, "Hi monsieur," he holds a door open and someone mutters thanks. He says, "You're welcome." He hands me a dish I'm reaching for and I just thanks, and he says, "You're welcome." Always does. No matter how small or inconsequential. I always go on the side of the sidewalk closest to the cars when I see an elderly person or someone with a baby. I doubt anything changes really, but I like to think I'm being selfless. As someone frequently with a baby, I would notice and appreciate this. I turn the toilet paper on the right side everywhere I go, cleverly leaving out which side is the right side. Well played. You know which one it is. Every Friday at work I would go to our cafeteria and pay for the person's meal behind me. I like this and have done it, but I don't know how I feel about the idea as a whole. I like when it stops at that person, but I don't want them to feel the burden of having to continue it. I've seen posts of people talking negatively about the person breaking the chain, and I don't feel like the point should be to create a chain reaction where everyone feels like they have to keep it going or be a jerk. Right? If it's a chain, then it sort of defeats the purpose of brightening someone's day. Instead of you getting a free drink, you get a social obligation that might end up being more expensive than what your drink would have been in the first place. Honestly, I just try to be kind to people. The world is so full of angry people that make other people miserable. I just try not to admit there's much going on in the world that frustrates me, but I never take it out on the people around me. I work in healthcare and it's a stressful environment, and I've found that people work better when they're being treated well, with patience, and everybody is calm. Sure, you'd be surprised, or maybe not, how many assholes there are in healthcare that make mountains out of molehills. Flip out on people for minor errors, not stuff that would bring patient harm, and worst of all, give themselves far more leeway than they do the people they flip out on. So anyway, yeah, I just try not to be a dick. The secretary at the NICU my daughters were at crocheted prayer cloths for the babies. She gave me the idea for the small thing I do to try to make the world a better place. A lot of parents of dead babies feel like the babies aren't acknowledged, and sometimes, if the parents don't have living children, they aren't really acknowledged as parents. But they are parents and their babies are real. I make baby things to send to the bereaved parents I meet if they want them. I remember their children's names and do what I can to get the point across that their children aren't forgotten and have made a difference in this world. It's my way of making sure that my dead children aren't forgotten and they made a difference in this world. Answering any question, no matter how stupid, to the best of my ability. If someone has a genuine question about something, it's a dick move to ridicule them for it. This just promotes stupidity because people will be too scared to find out the truth for something. I hated it, and still do, when as a kid I asked a question and adults would just say, "It's to make you talk," or stuffs like that. So I stopped asking anything to people, mostly because of it. I think they were too afraid to acknowledge the fact that they didn't know the answer. The more I grow, the more I realize adults are stupid and immature. That was one of my dad's favorite things. Why is this like this? To make you ask questions. To me, it wasn't being condescending. He was just huge on dad humor, and I think he thought that was one of the best in his book. He would answer the question 99% of the time after he had his laugh. I'm a couponer. I get a lot of free stuff, especially toothpaste. Every now and then I go through my stash and box up the extra and give it to a local organization that helps those in need. Also, every time I give someone a birthday gift, I throw a toothpaste in there too. Because why not? This is so sweet. I like to leave pennies head side up in hope of making someone's day. Smile at strangers I pass. When I was younger I read something, may or may not have been true, that a man was contemplating suicide and told himself that if one person smiled at him that day, then he wouldn't do it. And no one did. So he killed himself. Again, I don't know if it was just a story or if it actually happened, but I told myself from then on I'd smile at anyone I passed on the street. Clean up after yourself and others. It's not mine. Yeah, well, it's still our planet. If I see a homeless person who has a dog, I stop and give him a bottle of water. The dog is probably thirsty, and the homeless person may not have frequent access to clean water. Living in Denver, instead of giving homeless people money, I would give them food and water. See a guy flying his sign with no water sitting by him. I'd pass them one of the bottles I had got earlier. Or maybe I brought a few bananas. I'd usually save one and give it to someone. I also used to buy a homeless guy by my house a shot of Jim Beam apple when I'd see hi monsieur. He asked me for a smoke one night and I asked if he wanted a shooter and that's what he picked. He was always super grateful and would say hey when I'd see him, not at the liquor store, but he only ever asked for that one cigarette. Oh, you know, yours is a good one. In that vein, I was just reminded, I don't drive a ton during the pandemic. I keep a box of granola bars in my car. Every time I see someone who is homeless, I give one away. Felt terrible the one time I met a guy with approximately 2 teeth who declined. And I'm going to get softer ones next time around. But otherwise is successful. Edited because grammar is hard. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.